Morning. Man needs not but a good chair and a pipe, or so it's been said. And that's my chair. Yeah. Uh, I know you'd probably rather looked at the chair, but unfortunately, well, you're stuck with me for just a bit. Smoking the corn cob because, well, in the paintings that you've seen earlier of, well, Vincent van Gogh, the famous artist, appears he smoked a cob quite often, and he did smoke a pipe quite often. We're going to get into him here in just a bit. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about my chair. Now, I know everybody out there probably has some comfy place to be or something comfy to sit in when they're, well, smoking the pipe. And I hope so, because every man needs a good chair. Yeah, and I just purchased this one recently. Pretty proud of it. It's from the Milwaukee Chair company, and from what I can tell, it was made about 1914 to 1920, somewhere right in there. Works great. I did a little oiling up, cleaned it up, threw a little stain on it. Not real proud of the upholstery job somebody's done over the decades, somewhere in the middle of those decades, between 1914, 1920 to now. But for now, it works, and it's very comfy. And I paid $5 for it at an antique shop, so yeah, you can't beat that. Why? Well, you all know, because I'm cheap, right? And anyway, Milwaukee Chair Company is pretty famous. From 1889 to 1940, they supplied the United States House and Senate with chairs. And obviously, after 1940, they didn't do it anymore, and they don't do it today. And maybe that's why everybody in the House and the Senate gets so butthurt and so sore about things. They got no comfy chair to sit on. Yeah, and moving on from politics now. We're going to move on to Vincent van Gogh, famous artist, famous painter, famous, well, not impressionist so much, but depressionist. Guy, he had some issues and kind of a sad story, really, when it comes down to the end. But also, one of his very famous paintings was about a chair and his pipe and tobacco pouch. He also, as a pipe smoker goes, he was very into pipe smoking. I'm really surprised there's not more about him. In that aspect. Oh, by the way, I'm smoking some Peterson early morning pipe with that touch of vanilla I put in there. Very tasty this morning. And I'm going to be reading some notes here, so because there's a lot of research, and there was quite a few rabbit holes once again. Yeah, some I wish I hadn't come out of, but anyway, he had some pretty famous quotes about pipe smoking that really kind of show what kind of a pipe smoker he was. And one of the first ones, we're going to do what I found on Google first, and then I'm going to read you what was actually in the letter that he wrote. And so this is Google trying to soften things up. Once again, people getting butt hurt, so you have to watch what you say. Yeah. He wrote, To do good work, one must eat well, be well, have one's fling from time to time, smoke one's pipe, and drink one's coffee in peace. Well, that was the Google version. Yeah. And, well, he wrote to, Emil Bernard, one of his friends, a different version of that. In his letter to him, he wrote, "To do good work, one must eat well, be well housed, have a screw from time to time." We won't get into that. Smoke your pipe and drink your coffee in peace. Really nothing like what Google, I mean, there's a few things in there, but obviously they didn't put the screw thing in because, well, somebody might be offended by that. Really good stuff this morning. I think Van Gogh would have even enjoyed this. He also wrote when he was 19, one of the earliest letters they have collected by Van Gogh, he wrote to his brother Theo, "I must again recommend you start smoking a pipe. It does you a lot of good when you're out of spirits." I'm assuming that means out of sorts or such. And maybe it means out of drink. I don't know. But, some people get cranky when you take their hooch away. I'm not gonna point any fingers. No, I'm just kidding. But no, when you're out of spirits, I'm assuming he means, your mental state, your attitude. And like I said before, he suffered from depression greatly, and he had manic bouts of it. Plus, he also suffered from, well, as many artists do, alcoholism and quite a few other things. Yeah, and apparently he liked a good screw too, and we'll get to that in just a bit. It's going to be weird. So, anyway, he suffered from depression, and during the period he was really inflicted with it, he wanted a studio of his own. So, in the south of France, he found a studio, I think it was Arles, France, and it was called the Yellow House. And it was someplace he could paint and, well, display his works. And he moved in there in the 1st of May of 1888. And over the course of the summer, he invited, another artist, Paul Gangwin, to work there with him and share the studio. I don't know if that was for a monetary reason or I'm not sure, or he needed somebody to fill up more space on the wall. I don't really know, and they don't really say. But the two, they didn't get along, and Van Gogh probably was better left alone and to himself due to his depression. In December 1888, they had really fallen out by then, but they were still living together, or working together in the studio, I should say. And Van Gogh started painting, a couple pictures. One of them was of his own chair, which was painted with his tobacco pouch and his pipe on it. And I'm going to place the picture right here in front of my ugly mug and show you that one. And he painted it as well. He painted it very modestly. And it also painted it, the chair, I guess, represents in paintings, especially one that's empty, the person's not there, not quite there. And whether he meant this, physically or mentally, one of the two, he wasn't there. And I'm assuming it was mentally, because by this time he was pretty perturbed, Mr. Gangwin, and just he was having some manic problems at the moment. But his chair is very modest, very modestly painted. The colors used are just to show a simple man, basically. Now, at the same time, he started painting what he called Paul Gangwin, his friend that he was was out of sorts with somewhat at the time. He painted what he called Paul Gangwin's armchair, and I'm going to put a picture of that right here in front of my ugly mug. And he painted that rather lavishly and ornately, so to speak. Placed a candle on it that was burning, and there's a lot of references to why maybe that candle's on there. But there's a lot, and we don't have time for it here. But anyway, something very interesting about these two things. Nowadays, when they're shown either in a book or if they're displayed in a gallery somewhere, those chairs are on the. I'll show you the difference. One set you can have the chairs turned in facing one another, but they're mostly displayed with the chairs opened up and facing out away from each other. And the reason being is that's signifying the volatile and unfriendly relationship between Van Gogh and Gangwin in December of 1888. Unfortunately, the volatile relationship exploded. Yeah. Sorry for the profanity there, but that's how it blew up. Yeah. And it came down to Van Gogh pulled a razor or a knife. History, as you know, sometimes changes its story over time, but either way, a sharp weapon. Threatened Gangwin with it, and then in a fit of craziness, they say he cut off his ear with it instead of, poking Gangwin. And, they say it was his lobe, they say it was half his ear, and then they say it was his whole ear. Anyway, tough hombre, I guess, because he wrapped it up after this in, I don't know, rag, gift paper. What do you wrap an ear you just cut off of yourself in? I'm not sure, and Van Gogh was known to visit the local prostitutes quite a bit, and apparently there was one named Rachel he was sweet on, and he took her the ear. What the? Yeah, I don't know. But anyway, crazy. But unfortunately, it's a sad thing because Van Gogh was very talented. He didn't live very long. And it wasn't soon after, a couple of years, he was in and out of mental institutions after that episode, the hospital quite a bit. And there's the painting with his ear wrapped up and smoking a pipe. At least he was still smoking a pipe. Maybe that day in December 1888 when he got the razor out, he should have smoked a couple more bowls and relaxed, found a little zen. But unfortunately, he didn't. And once again, on July 27th, 1890, he maybe should have smoked a few more bowls. There's quite a few different stories about how he died. The one that I'm just going to go with here, because we could go into a whole video on the other, but he basically, it sounds like he shot himself, suffered for a few days, and like I said, passed away July 27th, 1890. But he was a famous guy. He liked to smoke a pipe. He painted a really awesome chair. And like I said, every good man needs a good pipe and, a good chair. And with that, I've rambled on long enough. I'm going to give you a tip of the haberdashery. Bid you hasta luego, and we'll catch you in the next one. And forgot to turn my light on today. We're not going to redo this whole thing. So, have a good one.